Hello, it's Jake here from the Honest Gadget, and this is the Keychron K2 HE Special Edition. This is a Hall effect keyboard, so it uses magnetic switches instead of traditional mechanical ones. You might think this is just another gaming focused keyboard, but there's a lot more to it than just that, and I'll explain why in this video. Anyway, before I start, Keychron did send this keyboard over to me, so thank you Keychron. And of course, all opinions are my own. The first thing I noticed is of course how it looks. This is the special edition and it does indeed look special. It's $10 more than the standard edition, and for that you're getting a wooden frame with natural rosewood accents on the sides. It gives it this warmer, more premium look without making it look too flashy, and I'm all for understated vibes, and at this price, paying $10 more is well worth it. It's got a decent weight to it as well, so it feels pretty planted on your desk. And on the back here, you get adjustable feet, which is implemented as a two-stage system. So you got a little one for a smaller angle and a larger one for a larger angle. So yeah, you can adjust it to your liking, or you can just use it flat like I have been. So the special edition also has OSA Profile Double Shot PBT keycaps versus the Cherry Profile Double Shot Shine Through PBT keycaps on the standard version. To break that down, that basically means the special edition keycaps are a little taller, rounder, and more sculpted on top, so your fingertips sit into them a bit more when you're typing. And Double Shot PBT means that the legends are made from a second piece of plastic that is sort of shot into the main key with lettering that goes through the entire surface of the key top. It's a lot harder to manufacture, but as you would have guessed, also means they are more durable compared to, say, standard laser etching or pad printed legends. Compared to the standard model, these are not shine through. The RGB is actually coming from north-facing LEDs that sort of splays out from underneath the keycaps, essentially filling in the gaps between the keycaps with light. It's definitely a more subdued lighting, which makes sense because the K2HE Special Edition feels like it's trying to be a gaming keyboard and an everyday keyboard at the same time. I mean, you could bring it to the office and it'd fit right in. Now, the layout here is 75%, which for me is the Goldilocks of keyboard sizing. You're pretty much keeping 99% functionality whilst reducing your keyboard footprint by about 25%, which is great for freeing desk clutter and keeping everything looking sleek. The keycaps are also spaced more closely together, so if you're coming from a full-size keyboard or even a more spaced out TKL layout, there might be some small adjustment you'll have to make. I personally didn't have any issues here, and I came from a 98% layout keyboard, so props to Keychron for making the K2 so easy to get used to. Before moving on, here's what you get inside the box. You get a quick start guide here, a user manual, and obviously the keyboard itself. Then there's an accessory box which gives you the USB-C cable, as well as an Allen key and small screwdriver which can be used to open up the keyboard for some modding. Then there's the USB dongle and receiver extension adapter for wireless use, and then you have some keycaps for Mac and Windows, along with the keycap and switch puller. As for the connection, you can use it wired with the braided USB-C cable. Looking at it, you'll see it has a 90-degree connector, and that's because the USB-C port is on the left side. Honestly, I would have preferred this to be at the back since it would just be closer to your PC regardless of what side of the desk you place it on, but still not a big deal. Going back to the side, you'll see all the switches are here. In classic Keychron fashion, one switch lets you jump between Mac and Windows mode, and the other switch, the last switch here, lets you switch between the wireless function, the wired, and the Bluetooth modes. That's one of the reasons I think this keyboard is more of an all-rounder than just a pure gaming board, because with something like this, you can have it connected to your gaming PC over 2.4 GHz, then switch to Bluetooth for a laptop or tablet. And if you want the most stable connection, you can just plug it in with the USB-C. Personally, for myself, and I'm guessing for most of you, you'd probably be using the 2.4 GHz because it gives you that low latency wireless experience with obviously wireless flexibility without the annoying Bluetooth delay. Bluetooth is fine for normal typing, but for gaming I wouldn't bother unless you really have to. For the 2.4 GHz connection, Keychron did include an extension adapter along with the dongle. The extension adapter allows you to bring the wireless transmission closer to your keyboard so you can strengthen the signal. I simply plugged out the cable that Keychron gave me, which I was using for the wired connection, plugged it into the adapter with the dongle and set the setting to wireless. I must admit though, that adapter really grips the hell out of the dongle, and be sure not to try and jam it all the way in like I was doing. It's meant to stick out a bit. Keychron markets this like having a wired connection with wireless freedom. I didn't really notice a difference between both wired or wireless modes, I guess because my wireless signal was already pretty strong. But yeah, I mean if you do suffer from some dropouts or some lag, it'll definitely help. Okay, so let's get to the more inner workings of this keyboard. It's really the reason why it's so great and why you're paying a lot more than just standard mechanical keyboards. See, if you hadn't already known, this is a magnetic keyboard. On a normal mechanical keyboard, the switch has to physically make contact to register a key press. But with a magnetic keyboard, the keyboard can detect how far down the key is being pressed without needing that same physical contact point. And this comes with a lot of benefits. You get a super smooth feel and a lot less wear and tear over time too. But what really allows you to take full advantage of this is the software. The Keychron launcher is lightweight, really easy to use, and can be used straight up in your browser. It's in here that you can set your per key actuation control, which is perhaps the most single powerful element of magnetic keyboards. You can set the distance from when your key activates from a tiny 0.2mm down to a long 3.8mm. So let's say you're gaming, you can set the key to activate really early. So instead of pressing halfway down before the keyboard registers anything, you can make it trigger almost instantly by, say, setting it to 0.2mm. See, once the key moves down to that 0.2mm mark, it's triggered. So basically you'll get super fast, super responsive gameplay. They have 3 profiles here to save your settings, so you can have one for gaming and perhaps another for work or typing. And here's another example. So for your typing profile, you can set a deeper actuation point. So if you're someone who accidentally brushes keys or makes a lot of mistakes, you can make the keyboard less sensitive, and that gives you a completely different typing feel. That's what makes magnetic keyboards so interesting to me. It's not just faster keyboard equals better gamer, it's more that you can tune the keyboard depending on what you're doing. I found my own sweet spot to be 1mm for gaming and typing, and I was happy with that. There's also a bunch of other features to play with, like rapid trigger, snap click, and dynamic keystrokes. Dynamic keystrokes is where one key can do different things depending on how far you press it. So for example, a light press could trigger one action and a deeper press could trigger another. That sounds really cool, and for some people, especially advanced gamers, it probably is. If I'm being honest, a lot of the deeper software features I can imagine people maybe will try once and then never touch again. So really, you can get deep into customizing the board as much as you want or as little as you want. Of course, you can also go crazy with RGB with 21 effects plus per key RGB and a mix RGB setting, which allows you to set up 2 different RGB zones. You can change the color, brightness, and speed. It's also nice here that they include a light setting for your caps lock key so you know if it's on or off, because there's no physical on or off light switch on the actual keyboard itself. As I alluded to before, the RGB isn't the main attraction here, and I'm totally okay with that. Anyway, the most impressive thing about this keyboard for me is the typing experience. This just feels so good to type on, with a nice thocky sound to it. The switches are smooth, the keys feel stable, and the sound is more dampened and thocky rather than hollow or cheap. So yeah, it really does just sound amazing and actually feels really good to type on. And this is all made possible with multiple design elements coming together. You get a lot of attention to detail here. The switches are Gateron double rail magnetic switches, and the double rail part actually matters because the stem has 2 rails instead of 1, which helps reduce wobble and makes the key press feel more stable. Keychron also mentions enhanced stabilizers for bigger keys like the spacebar, shift, and enter keys. They feature a reinforced sidewall around the stem, providing extra protection and stability. I can't tell how much better this is, but I'll take their word for it. Most of the larger keys sound fine, but I wouldn't say they're flawless. Depending on your unit, you might still hear a bit of inconsistency on keys like the spacebar or backspace. One thing to note is that this keyboard is tray mounted, not gasket mounted. Now for normal users, that might mean absolutely nothing, but in keyboard terms, a gasket mounted keyboard usually gives you a softer, more cushioned typing feel because the plate is suspended with gasket material. A tray mount is usually firmer because the internals are screwed into the case. Unless you're an absolute keyboard expert, I'm not sure how much of a difference you would notice. I'd venture to say the internal foam layers and silicone acoustic pads do a lot in making this sound super thocky, smoother, and a bit bouncy still, even for a tray mounted keyboard. All in all, it's still the best typing experience I've ever had on a keyboard, and really says a lot about how Keychron focused on building a premium everyday keyboard rather than one that's just primarily used for gaming. In line with this, it kind of makes sense you're only getting 1000 Hz polling rate here. That means your keyboard is sending signals once every millisecond. You might be disappointed. After all, a lot of competitors like Wooting have keyboards that go up to 8000 Hz, which sends signals every 0.125 milliseconds. But in all honesty, are you even going to notice a difference? Polling rate is more important on gaming mice, and even then, a lot of people, even esport gamers, don't play above 1000 Hz. So when it comes to keyboards, I can't imagine anyone noticing a serious difference or needing something above 1000 Hz. But hey, to each his own. That spec might be important to you. Now the biggest downsides with this keyboard is switch compatibility. Yes, the K2HE is technically hot swappable, but that does not mean you can just throw in any normal mechanical or magnetic switch. You're basically limited to compatible Keychron double rail magnetic switches. And that's kind of annoying because one of the fun parts of these types of keyboards is experimenting. Different switches, different feels, different sounds. But with a lot of magnetic keyboards right now, every brand seems to have its own switch ecosystem and they don't always play nicely with each other. So even though the K2HE is hot swappable on paper, it's not as open or flexible as some people might expect. That's probably the biggest enthusiast complaint I have with it. The switches that come with it are good, so most people probably won't care and won't really want to switch it. But if you're the type of person who loves modding and experimenting, just know this is not as flexible. So who should buy the Keychron K2HE Special Edition? I think this is for someone who wants magnetic switches but doesn't want a keyboard that feels like it only exists for gaming. It's kind of a doing it all premium keyboard. You can use it for gaming at an enthusiast level or take it to the office for some serious work. And for $139.99, I think the value is strong here, especially because of the premium look and the next level typing experience. And yeah, you can usually get it cheaper if you shop around. Sure, it's not the most ergonomic keyboard out there, but you do have options to buy a palm rest, which could be a big deal for some of you. In any case, if you do type a lot, I think this is one of the best to get in the magnetic keyboard space. It just feels so good to type on to the point where you want to type more just to use it. At least that's how I felt. The biggest downside is the switch compatibility and modding freedom. The keycaps are easy enough to swap, but you're really limited to the Keychron Keychron switches. So yeah, if you're a big modder, this keyboard might not be for you. But for everyone else, I think the K2HE Special Edition is one of the more balanced magnetic keyboards out right now. It gives you a taste of that high performance, Hall effect style gaming experience, but without sacrificing the parts of a keyboard that matters when you're not gaming. And that's why I like it. So anyway, that's my take on the Keychron K2HE Special Edition. I hope you enjoyed this video, and yeah, if there's anything you want to mention, leave a comment below. Consider liking and subscribing, it really helps the channel out. Hopefully, I'll see you in the next one.